Welcome back to another episode of the Evolving Beyond podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin. And have you ever been completely fine until someone's energy changed toward you? Maybe that caused you to feel a little bit of anxiety. Maybe you felt like you did something wrong and your mind immediately starts racing and you're like, oh my God, you must be upset with me. I need to reach out. I need to make sure that everything's okay. Or maybe you're someone, when the energy starts to shift, you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna pretend like this isn't happening and not bring it up. I'm just gonna move on with my life. Maybe I'll just kind of distance myself from you and even ghost you because I don't wanna have to deal with this once it's brought up. What if those reactions aren't really about what's happening in that moment, but is actually telling us something deeper about ourselves and the way that we feel in relationships? Today, we are talking about attachment styles. I am so excited for this one because this is like relatively new information that I've been learning about. And I have gone down a whole rabbit hole of just understanding attachment styles, understanding how we can heal them and how they better our relationships and our lives. So I want to share what I've been learning with you guys. So this actually started because my friend Jazz sent me an episode from the podcast Dateable. In the podcast episode, they were interviewing Thais Gibson, who is a psychologist who developed the Personal Development School on Instagram. Attachment styles are her bread and butter. She teaches people how to learn what their attachment style is and also how to heal it so that way you can have a more secure attachment style in your relationships. Your attachment style is the set of expectations that you develop around closeness, connection, rejection, and emotional safety. A lot of times it's built out of a means of survival that you learned in childhood. So the way that adults showed up for you and the way that other people showed up for you and modeled relationships for you, this taught your nervous system what a quote unquote safe relationship looked like and felt like. So there are four main attachment styles. Secure, which ultimately is something that we all want to work towards if you are not currently secure. Anxious, dismissive avoidant, and fearful avoidant. Imagine that you're at home and your man or your woman comes home and they seem a bit off. They don't seem like themselves. You ask them what's wrong, naturally, and they say, oh, it's nothing, I'm just tired. So you're like, okay, you're just tired. And then later on in the evening, you're trying to like cuddle with them on the couch, maybe want to watch a movie, spend some time with them because you haven't seen each other all day. And they kind of just like are still distant, not saying anything, aren't really like accepting your bids of affection. This is where your attachment style really starts to show up. Your attachment style becomes clear based on what you do when you feel like your connection is threatened. So this is when you can become activated and that attachment style can really start to show itself. If you're someone with an anxious attachment style, your immediate thought response might be they're upset with me. You're like, I've done something wrong. A lot of times you might try to go into like a fixing type of mode. And by doing that, you're usually repeatedly checking in with them. So even though they said, I'm just tired, I'm fine, you're still going to keep checking in with them. You're going to keep pestering them until they talk to you. Anxious attachment styles seek reassurance and they may become emotional or initiate conversation immediately. So this could also look like as soon as they say nothing, I'm just tired, you immediately like rebuttal that and you're like, are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to talk about anything? That could be like an anxious attachment style response. Second attachment style is going to be dismissive avoidant. So a dismissive avoidant in this situation, they would probably say, oh, okay, well, they don't want to talk, so I'm not going to bring it up. Actually, I'm probably just going to like not talk about this situation at all. And that would be like a dismissive avoidance ideal situation, is like kind of not talking about the situation at all unless they absolutely have to. From my understanding, most times dismissive avoidants are going to be like essentially trying to avoid all heightened emotions. They're not really going to press the issue, and they're probably also not going to bring it back up later unless you bring it up first. The third one is a fearful avoidant attachment style, also known as disorganized. So this could look like you pursue at first, kind of like an anxious attachment style where you go in for the conversation and you check in and you see like, hey, are you sure you're okay? And then you suddenly withdraw when you're not really getting the response that you want. So maybe like you pursue them and you're like, are you sure you're okay? They say, I'm fine. And then based on like their tone, you're like, oh, well, if you're going to have a tone with me, then I'm just not even going to talk to you. And then you kind of go withdraw. It typically happens when the fearful avoidant feels rejected and they don't get the reassurance that they're looking for. They'll kind of turn into like a whatever, I don't even care about this anyway sort of attitude. The fourth and final attachment style that is, I would say, the most ideal would be secure attachment. So someone with a secure attachment style would probably respond like this. They might say to themselves, like, something is probably bothering them, but I don't have enough information yet to make a conclusion. So they're typically not jumping to any conclusions until facts are given to them, like it's spoken from the person themselves. They'll usually check in like out of concern because obviously you like care about this person, but then they will give healthy space because they trust that once the person is ready to speak about it, they will come back and they can have a conversation. So you may be asking yourself, like, why does it even matter if I know what my attachment style is? Why would I even want to have a secure attachment style or work towards that? And I would say that it is important if you plan on having any type of relationship in your life. As humans, we are designed for connection and to have relationships with other human beings. Knowing your attachment style really does help you to nurture healthy relationships with other people. So that way it's a positive experience for both of you, not just you, but also for them. And not just positive saying like everything's always going to be great and you're never going to have conflict. No, that's actually the complete opposite. When you have a secure attachment style, you're able to trust without having to have constant reassurance. You can communicate your needs better and clearly without having anxiety. And you can also repair disagreements a lot more efficiently. So ultimately, it just leads to having better relationships overall. One thing I have learned about attachment styles that's really interesting is that just because you have a certain attachment style with one relationship doesn't mean it's the same across the board. So you could have really secure attachment when it comes to friendships, but then maybe when you're in a relationship, you have a dismissive avoidant attachment style with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe with your family members, you have an anxious attachment style. It's ultimately how our nervous system learned to feel the most safe in these types of dynamics. That's the attachment style that we tend to gravitate towards. Another reason why it's so important to know your attachment style is because if you know your attachment style, a lot of times based on your interactions with other people, you can identify what their attachment style might be in your dynamic. So going on this like whole rabbit hole of learning about attachment styles, I've learned that there's a very popular anxious and avoidant dynamic that is common in relationships. For some reason, anxious attachment styles and avoidant attachment styles tend to gravitate towards each other. So if you can identify that you are one or the other, and then you can see how that impacts your relationship dynamic and how it impacts your interactions with the other person in the relationship, it can help you identify where you can, make some changes so that way you can move towards a more secure attachment. And vice versa, like the more that we heal our personal attachment styles, we also offer a space for that other person to start reflecting back on themselves and seeing where they can start to heal their attachment style as well. This can help you to resolve conflict a lot easier, understand how you can create a safe space for both of you to express your needs and be vulnerable. And that also contributes to having a healthier and happier relationship. I do want to add a disclaimer though. It is not your responsibility to try to heal anybody else's attachment style. It is 100% their responsibility. Attachment styles definitely can add fuel to the flame when it comes to disagreements because their nervous system is wired a completely different way from yours. Sometimes when we're in like an activated or heightened state, it can make your nervous system feel even more dysregulated to where you are like scared to even try to do anything different. So by taking the first step and initiating your own self-discovery and what your attachment style is and healing it for yourself, you can then help to cultivate a space where other people around you might feel safer to start exploring it themselves as well. So just want to say that it's not your responsibility to heal anybody, but a lot of times the things that we do personally do impact those around us. And this can have a positive effect on people. Second disclaimer I do want to add is sometimes it's not an attachment style that's the issue. If it ever gets to the point where like your boundaries are being disrespected or you are just incompatible with that person, that could be the issue itself. I don't want you to listen to this and think I'll heal my attachment style and I'm going to fix all of my relationships. That's not necessarily the case. Healing your attachment style is for you. Relationships take two, right? So you can do all of the work that you want to do, but if that other person isn't going to do the work and the self-reflection, then you can't do the work for two people in a relationship. Each person needs to be carrying 100% of their own weight in order for a relationship to work. So that's my second disclaimer. So you may be asking by this point, okay, well, like, how can I even figure out like what my attachment style is, right? Great question. So here are 3 questions that you can ask yourself to kind of start this self-evaluation of your attachment style. Number 1, when someone I care about pulls away, what do I do instinctively? And what this could look like is when someone pulls away, do you tend to move closer, try to make some sort of connection or communication with them? Do you give them space and you're just like completely not trying to deal with it? Okay, I'm going to go and do my own thing, give them space. Or maybe are you some of a back and forth? Like you want to communicate, but then you also give them space, but then you want to communicate, but then you give them space. And it's kind of like a hot and cold sort of situation. Question 2, what scares me more in relationships? Being abandoned or losing independence? The point of this question is to really see if you lean more towards an anxious attachment style or an avoidant attachment style. And number 3, during conflict, what do I need before I feel safe again? So for some people, this could look like reassurance. Maybe you need to have a conversation, you need to discuss your feelings, and you need your partner to provide you with that reassurance. For other people, this could be space. Maybe in order to regulate yourself, you need to just have space. You need to be able to like let go and not be bombarded with emotions. Maybe you need a little bit of both, Maybe you need to have a bonding activity together. Maybe it's not like feelings necessarily that you need to talk about, but it's something that you need to feel like the relationship has been repaired, like going and doing an activity together, something that you need to feel like the conflict has been resolved and repaired and you can move forward. Healing your attachment style is not something that happens overnight, right? Like when it comes to your nervous system and rewiring your nervous system, the things that make you feel safe, you are essentially being your own parent. Like you are parenting your inner child that learned that this specific way of navigating relationships has kept me safe all this time. It takes time and you're going to have to do things differently. There may be some days where you feel really, really great and you're really on top of your attachment style. And when it comes to conflict, you feel really, really secure in the way that you are presenting yourself and navigating that conflict. Then there might be some conflicts that really trigger you and pull out that insecure attachment style, which is okay because it's a process. Like you're not going to get it overnight. The first step of this really is awareness, like with all things, right? Like once you have a realistic understanding of where you currently are and what you would like it to look like and what you want things to feel like, you can move towards that. So a simple practice that you can start with now is the next time you're in a conflict with someone, pause for just a moment. Notice what your automatic reaction is. What's your knee-jerk reaction that happens? Is it to try to communicate immediately? Try to get reassurance? Is it, oh, I need to like immediately leave this situation. I need to clock out. I'm not talking anymore. I need to escape. When you pause and notice that reaction, instead of acting on it, take a second, take a deep breath in, breathe out, and communicate what it is that you need. What is the need that's underneath that? Like, what do you actually need? Or maybe you're someone who needs space. So in that moment when you're in conflict and you want to just disappear, you don't even want to talk to them, you just want to leave the house, get in your car and then just drive. Take a moment and just say, hey, I just need some space right now. In saying what you need, it's going to be so much more empowering because you're advocating for yourself, right? Like, we are adults. We're at a point where it's important to be able to communicate our needs clearly to the people that we have relationships with. We shouldn't expect them to just figure out what's wrong with us, right? Because if someone truly cares about you, they are going to make an effort, right? They are going to make an effort, but also, like I said, a relationship is a two-person thing. So in order for someone to put effort in, if you're asking for something or if you have a need, it's also your responsibility to communicate that need. Or if it's a disagreement where, you guys are not seeing eye to eye, being able to at least hold space for each other and share how you feel without allowing those insecure attachment tendencies to get activated. Because truthfully, whenever we're acting out of our insecure attachment style, it's really because we are trying to protect ourselves, right? We're trying to protect ourselves from hurt and our nervous system and whatever we learned in childhood. We're just trying to protect ourselves. But ultimately, in a secure relationship, you're saying that I trust myself to be able to take care of myself, but I also am in this relationship or friendship with you because I trust that you also care about my well-being and that you would not do anything to jeopardize that. If you can't honestly say that about the person that you're talking about, then maybe that's another conversation that you need to have with yourself about, okay, well, should I even be in this relationship, right? But in a relationship where two people genuinely care about each other, it's not that we don't care about the other person. Sometimes it's that those insecure attachment styles are in place. They've been in place for years or decades, our whole lifetime, and they get in the way of us actually trying to care for each other and care about each other because we're just triggering each other's nervous systems with the patterns that we learned to keep us personally safe. I think another thing too is once you are in relationships with people who have secure attachment styles as well, you don't necessarily want your insecure attachment style to lead to the demise of the relationship, right? Because people with secure attachment styles, they uphold their boundaries. And so if you start ghosting them because you're a dismissive avoidant, or if you start like bombarding them because you're anxious and they set a boundary and you don't respect that because you can't get past your nervous system, they will eventually just leave, respectfully. They'll be like, hey, respectfully, but this isn't working out for me. And then you can end up losing some really amazing opportunities with people because of your unhealthy patterns. So that is my little spiel for today. I'm going to link Thais's Instagram page down below in the description. It's the Personal Development School on Instagram. I follow her on Instagram. If you want to find her under my following list, you can also find her there. She has so many great videos that go into depth on the different attachment styles and just different scenarios that you'll encounter. She also has a book, which I want to check out. I hope that this was insightful. I know for me personally, this was something that I never learned growing up. And learning this now, I think is just so monumental and will really impact the way that I can navigate friendships and relationships moving forward, because it is important. But yeah, that's all I have for this episode. I hope that this opens your eyes. So if you do have one of the insecure attachment styles, it encourages you to self-reflect and maybe move towards some more secure tendencies. So that way you can have fulfilling, healthy, and happy relationships throughout life. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you. And I can't wait to see the great things that you do. Talk to you next time. Bye.